Hi, I'm Hannah, the Programmes Manager at the Macular Society. One of the services I look after is our Skills for Seeing programme. This service is centred around providing practical support and guidance to help you make the most of your vision. In this session, you'll hear from some of our fantastic Skills for Seeing volunteers, sharing some of their top tips, as well as guidance from our service coordinator, Natalie, on how to get started with eccentric viewing. But first, I want to share some of the key resources and services that you should be aware of in your local areas, particularly if you're newly diagnosed, that will be able to provide you with some additional support. So starting out with low vision assessments. A low vision assessment is designed to measure your functional vision, both distance and near, to evaluate what level of magnification may be useful or to suggest other low vision aids. The provision for these assessments varies from area to area. You can ask for an assessment either via your eye clinic, your opticians, your GP, or in some areas, a local sight loss organisation may provide this. Self-referrals are not often an option. Depending on the service provision, you may be able to be provided with a suitable magnifier on what's called long-term loan, which essentially means it's free of charge. The optometrist may also suggest other low vision aids that may be useful or suggestions on lighting. It's a great way to gain a better understanding of your vision and learn about which aids work for you. When you're going for any appointments at your eye clinic, please do ask if they have an ECLO in post. This is an eye care or eye clinic liaison officer, and whilst they're not in every clinic, they do provide a range of practical and emotional support and information from helping you understand your diagnosis to bridging the gap between health and social services. They can make referrals for you and let you know what else is available in your area, which may be helpful. Another great avenue of support are sensory teams. These will typically sit within your local council, and they can do home visits, provide some equipment, and do home assessments to make recommendations to support independent living. Some sensory teams will allow you to self-refer, but others may require the referral to come from a professional. It's also worthwhile investigating if you have any resource centres in your area. These may be provided by a local sight loss organisation and are a great place to try out low vision aids and lighting to find out what works best for you, as this will be different for everybody. We always recommend trying something before buying it, and even with items such as magnifiers, you may find that you need more than one depending on the tasks that you're using them for. And lastly, please don't underestimate the importance of keeping up with your optician's appointments. They're vital in monitoring changes with your vision and ensuring you're wearing the correct prescription in your glasses. Those glasses are still correcting your functional vision, which, as you'll find out later in the session, is key for eccentric viewing. I'm delighted to now hand over to our volunteers with some of their best practical advice and tips. Thank you.
My name's Pat McGill. I'm a volunteer for the Macular Society, have been for some 17 years. I live on the outskirts of Lincoln, and I have many volunteer roles. What I want to talk about first is for those of you who are due to have a low vision assessment or get sent for a low vision assessment, there's a new gadget being introduced which whoever is assessing you may allow you to use or recommend that you use it. It's a very new gadget that's free on the NHS, and it's produced by a company a company in Germany, and it's called Detail View, and it clips onto the front of your glasses. I'll give a demonstration. There's the gadget, and what you do if you've got reading glasses, varifocals, bifocals, you clip them onto the front, and then you pull down the lens, and the vision is ×2 vision. So it gives you both hands free rather than holding anything. And you use it from a distance of around 400 millimeters. So it can be used for skills for seeing by using your best remaining bit of your vision and things like that. So it gives you hands free, but it's a very new piece of kit. Your optician may not offer it to you because may not consider it suitable. as it's only 2 times vision, and it may not be suitable anyway. So that's a new bit of kit. The other thing I want to show you today is how essential task lighting is, decent daylight task lighting. You will know yourself when you had 20/20 vision, if it was a dull day, you'd move towards the window and let the light shine in over your shoulder or your back to read something. Similarly, if you've got macular degeneration, you need good task lighting, and there are several types of task lighting. I will just show you 1 or 2. This one is one that sits behind my armchair and comes over the top and is fully flexible in many different directions and whatever. That's one. This is a smaller version of a table version which you can use, task lighting, but it's got a good daylight lamp. There's another one here which is also a daylight lamp, and it flexes up and down in many different ways. Something else you may find very useful. I find this is extremely useful. It's very small and it's got a very good light on it, and it folds away, and you can put it in your pocket or in your handbag, especially if you're in a restaurant and it's always dull in there and you cannot read the menu. It's very handy to carry this around, and it's light. You can hold it in one hand and, as I say, carry it around with you. Something else that can be useful for lighting is these adjustable head goggles, which you can buy in any of the places, and it gives you both hands free, and you just clip it to your head and adjust it as you want. So that's something else that's very useful. You can see there. So that's on lighting side. Now then, contrast can be great issues for various people, and there are simple things like in the house, say for instance in the bathroom, if your sight's so bad you cannot tell between the shampoo or the conditioner, there are several ways you can mark it. There are little coloured hair bands here. You can put different colours on whatever you want to put it on, or elastic coloured bands. And if that's not big enough, you can use different colours of tape, gaffer tape, and mark it. So that gives it even greater size. The other thing with gaffer tape is if there are trip hazards in your house and you can't see them, if you put a bit of whatever color that suits you, you can get many different colors, a bit of tape across where you know the trip hazard is, and you'll be able to see it. And if you're going out of the house, a similar sort of thing. And if you're on stairs, you have stairs in your house, if you stand at the top of the stairs and you look down, all you see is one straight line. You can put bits of colored gaffer tape by the side of each step or on the front of each step, so you know where the step is, you can see it. So that's very useful. There are many uses, the gaffer tape. Similarly, I have many colored chopping boards. Now, what I say to people is you wouldn't use a red chopping board to chop red meat or carrots or things like that. You'd use a white one or a different colored one. And, you know, you wouldn't chop fish or potatoes on a white one, use different colors. These are very useful ideas. And similarly with knives, if you can't tell which is the bread knife or which whatever, you can use the old gaffer tape again. Just mark it with gaffer tape. The other very useful idea is here, where you have a hairspray or a spray of any type, there are these bands you can get that are tactile. And if you put, there's a raised bit at the front, which you may or may not be able to see. If you put that where the spray comes out, you'll know by feeling around the tactile bits and the various shapes and bits of the tactile bit, you'll know where the spray comes out. That way you'll not spray it in your eyes or whatever. You'll be able to spray wherever you need to spray. These come in several different colors. And they are all tactile, different types of tactile. So we can feel and know where the exit or where the nozzle should be. So they're very handy to have. Also, other things which can be an issue for if you've got little or no sight is around the house, electric plugs, or in the kitchen, say for instance, your washing machine. Usually people only use one setting on the washing machine, but if you can't see where to stop, you can use these bump-ons. You just peel one off and you can feel them by the protrusion. And if you place one of those on the setting where you normally set your washing machine, then you just turn it round to that setting and feel where the bump on is. Additionally, if you've got a microwave, which is controlled not digitally, but controlled by a knob, you can put these on whatever setting you need or normally use. Also in the kitchen on the oven. Something else that's extremely useful is this shelf guard. Now, these are fitted to an oven shelf. And basically, if you put your hands in the oven, you can see this usually, but it doesn't matter if you can't. If they're fitted, you won't burn yourself, because if you put your hands in, even people who have 20/20 vision, put their hands in, sometimes you're lifting something out and you burn your wrists or burn your hands. They fit onto the oven shelf like that. It fits over it, you push it in and you can put your hand in and stop you burning yourself. So that's a very useful thing to have. So there are many useful ideas. Similarly, if you come to the front door and it's dark, you can't see where to put the key in. You can put one of these bump-ons in on where the keyhole is, or you can use a little torch. These little torches come with a battery. They come in packs of 10. And there's a battery in. All you need to do is take the top off and remove the little plastic strip inside. And it works by just turning the knob on the end. By just twisting it, it will give you light as to where your keyhole is. And it may also be useful as you get inside the house. The light switch is somewhere inside the door, but you're not sure where it is. You can shine this on it and you can see where it is. Or if you put a bump on it, again, it's very useful to have. So those are just some simple tips which may be of some help to you. So as I say, there are so many different things out there, like lighting and everything else. Make sure you shop around to get what suits you. If you go to some specialist companies, they will charge you quite a lot of money for something you can get on the open market much cheaper. So look at what it is that suits you and buy that. But if you need advice, obviously there are people at the Macular Society. If you ring the Macular Society number, they can give you advice or put you in touch with someone like me who can give you advice. Yeah, I hope that's of use to you. The only last thing I will say is when I've gone into people's houses to help them, I ask them where they sit, and they usually sit in the darkest corner of the house. So you need good lighting. And I said to them, well, what lighting have you got? And they've got a lovely standard lamp that fits and the decor of the house, but it's absolutely useless for you for whatever task you might be doing. And similarly, if you're watching television, if you've got macular degeneration, you need to sit within a sort of meter or so from the television to be able to see the screen. And by using eccentric viewing, if you use your eccentric viewing, then you'll be able to see most things that are going on. So those are just some tips. Anyway, I hope this is of some use to you, and thank you very much for listening to me, and goodbye, and have a great time. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be able to share a few basic tips for trying to improve our remaining vision. And the first item I thought would be of interest to some people. And I have to say, in my experience, with low vision, you have to kiss quite a lot of frogs to find your, favorite low vision aids. I've tried a lot out over the years, and I've also found in training people through the Skills for Seeing program to use eccentric viewing that different people find different aids helpful. So these are just offerings of the lower cost variety, just to get your mind thinking about what's possible. So the first aid I've got here, and this doesn't show up very well for many people, I realise, but it's a yellow, clear plastic reading overlay, A5 size, but they come in all sizes. They're a few pounds, and they're available from the usual large online stores, and some low vision suppliers have them. And they're often used by people who are dyslexic, so suppliers like the Dyslexia Shop stock them. And I find personally it's a bit like having those yellow tinted over glasses that you can put on when the sun's very bright. It just improves the contrast when you put it on the page of text you're trying to read, and it calms things down a bit instead of having what I find difficult, white paper with black writing. I find the white paper can give off glare in anything other than low light levels. So it doesn't help everybody, but for a very low cost, a £5 for a set of 8 is what I picked up to share with a few friends. They don't cost very much. And apparently there's been some research that actually does suggest that there is some benefit within our neural pathways, whatever they are, in our visual cortex in the brain, the benefits from having a yellow filter to calm down the activity of our photoreceptor cells, etc. Something like that, that can make these useful, as well as the practical thing of reducing glare. So that's the first item. And then I'll move on to something I always smile when I say. These are called typoscopes. So for those who can see on the screen, I'll wave them about a bit. They typically sold as a set of 4, and they are in different sizes, 4 plastic cards, each with a slot or 2 slots cut out to be suitable to place over a page of text. And unlike the yellow overlay I've just looked at, these, of course, as black card, make the page invisible, other than the text becomes, obscured by the card, and you can just see the text in the slot. And I like these, particularly when I'm working with people who are exploring eccentric viewing, because it cuts out the rest of the page so that you're not distracted by trying to pick out where you are. You know which lines you've got in front of you through the slot. So it's a bit like looking out of a letterbox, post box, through the slot there. But when you're trying to read, and particularly with eccentric viewing, if you're looking to one side, it's rather hard when you're looking at a mass of text. So these typoscopes, for some people, are very helpful. Let's say it's a set of 4. One of them is also a bit like one of those templates you can get from the bank, where you sign your checks, you know, in the slots provided. And that can be useful for a little bit of writing, if that's going to be helpful, perhaps writing on a greetings card, or addressing a letter or something like that. Although, of course, the rigid ribs do interfere with Y's and J's and G's, etc. But it can be more helpful than, as I find, drifting down to the bottom right-hand side of the envelope as I'm writing, etc. So they cost about between £3 and £5, and RNIB and other low vision suppliers like the Partially Sighted Society can supply those very readily. Okay. So the third item I've got is a bit difficult to show on screen. Again, I'll just wave it about a bit for those who can manage to see something. And it's a double-ended, flexible clamp with what's called, I believe, a gooseneck arm. Yeah, metal arm. And you can wiggle it about at any angle you want to, and then use one of the clamps to put it on a table. Sorry, you can't see the table from here. Probably don't use it without covering on some table you're about to take to the Antiques Roadshow to ask for a valuation, but definitely have some protection on if it is a family heirloom. And on the other end, you can put into the clamp whatever you like. And I think a magnifier is the natural usage for this, because then it leaves both of your arms free so that you can do something like cutting your nails, or other craft tasks perhaps that are really difficult if you've got to hold a magnifier and then just have one hand available to do what you want. Also within, I think the kitchen can be very useful. If you've got to chop something up, you can get the magnifier at an angle. And I know some companies sell magnifiers with a flexible arm, but with macular degeneration, our visual needs change over time. And so it can be quite handy to have something where you can just swap one magnifier or other tool into the clamp in and out very quickly, rather than buying a particular magnifier and then finding that magnification isn't right for you a year down the line. They also cost more. The basic clamp here, two-arm clamp, is about £15, typically from major online suppliers, readily available. Okay, so that's item number 3. And my fourth suggestion is just this barrel type ruler, magnifies to 2 times magnification. Again, tricky to see on screen here, but very flexible, available from Helix, for those who remember struggling with geometric instruments at school, etc. Still a common supplier. Lots of other companies supply them too, and they start at just a few pounds. And what I like about them is most of them, do check for this, come with a nice clear line printed through in the ruler, incorporated in the ruler, so that as you place it on the text, you can line it up with the line of text you're trying to read. So it's not for people who need massive levels of magnification, but perhaps you're using, a giant print already, then 2 times can make that, magnificently large for those of us who need very large magnifications. Very basic, very straightforward, cheap to buy and easy to store, etc. So thanks very much indeed for your attention. I hope some of these ideas are helpful for you.
One of the things that I recommend to nearly everybody I speak to is having a simple clipboard. If you've got a clipboard, it means that whatever you're holding in your hand is kept perfectly flat. It means it's much easier to see. You can rest your arms perhaps on the arm of the chair and hold the clipboard firmly. And it's a really good way of looking at photographs, trying to read a simple letter or something like that. Another tip that I've been passed on, which many people find very useful, is to have a liquid level indicator. So when you're making a cup of tea, you put the liquid level indicator over the top of the cup and it buzzes when the liquid reaches the indicator. So it stops the tea overflowing onto the tray. And using a tray is another good tip. If you've got the tea and everything on a tray, then if you do have a spillage, it means it doesn't go too far. Another tip that for the kitchen that I've been referred to this week actually is to have a blackboard in the kitchen. You can now get little small decorative blackboards to hang in your kitchen, and one of the people I have spoken to has actually got a blackboard, a small blackboard, not blackbird, blackboard, small blackboard in the kitchen by her kettle. On it she writes her next hospital appointment time and date and day, so she knows when she's going, and of course with using the kettle she gets a frequent reminder. One of the tips that one of our group mentioned is from a gentleman who likes to make a cup of tea for his wife every morning, first thing in the morning, and take it up to her in bed. But as he has sight problems, this has proved to be slightly difficult. And he has found that getting a damp kitchen towel and putting it, getting a sheet of a kitchen towel, slightly dampening it, and then putting the mug on top of the towel stops the mug sliding around as he's climbing up the stairs. One more for the kitchen, the Amsler grid. I'm sure many of you have an Amsler grid, and I was advised, a long time ago, by somebody who suggested keeping it on the fridge. Mine is kept on the fridge with fridge magnets, and the theory is that every Sunday I check it, just to check to see if there's any alteration in my sight. And if it's kept on the fridge, hopefully every time I open the fridge, particularly on a Sunday, if you're cooking Sunday lunch or something like that, it does act as a reminder so that you do it every week on the same day. And then I put it back on the fridge and forget about it till the following week. If you have a smartphone or a tablet, my recommendation here would be to really get to know your smartphone. I should say this is my recommendation. I don't actually follow it very well myself, but having said all this in front of you, I now have to do it, don't I? So really get to know your smartphone, and I promise after this I will do as well. The Macular Society do supply volunteers who can talk you through some issues with smartphones and tablets and help you make them more accessible, from the volunteers who work for Connect by Tech. If not, if you have something like an Apple and iPhone, then Apple stores will offer assistance there, and they can book you a session where they give you a guide to its accessible features. So do take advantage of them, because there's a lot you can do with a phone. Some of the people I have worked with have recommended taking photographs of things. So if, for example, you turn on your oven and you're not quite sure of the regulo, photograph it and then enlarge the photograph to a point where you can see it. You don't have to keep the photograph. Reading is another issue that many people find difficult. Large print books are usually available from libraries, and some libraries will have services for those who are housebound and will actually bring books to you. Audiobooks are a different skill. Some people like them, some people struggle with them. And I know some people say, oh, I can't cope with them, I can't concentrate for that long. So I would suggest, if you really enjoy reading and you miss reading, start with something like the radio. Listen to talking radio, the wonderful In Touch programs on Radio 4. I think it's 20 to 9 in the evening on a Tuesday evening. And really interesting programs for people with sight problems. The Book at Bedtime, Radio 4 do a lot of different interesting programs, and most of them are reasonably short. Start with those and get used to listening as a skill. There's also the RNIB channel, which is a radio channel, but you can only get it through your television. It's channel 730. And on there, they have a book review program and various programs, some of them music, some of them speaking. but you do need to use your television for that. If you would like to read stories and you think that you don't have the concentration for a novel, why not try short stories? Again, your local library may be able to help, and there are most libraries now have access to things like BorrowBox and Libby, where you can download audiobooks and listen to them like that. And you can also then, if you want longer novels, join the RNIB library, and those you can listen to on tablets. You can listen to them on USB sticks, and you can get them to play on your Alexa if you have one. And finally, podcasts are a really good idea as well, because they are short, like short radio programs. Some of them are less than half an hour each. They come in all sorts of subjects. I'm quite fond of Lucy Worsley's Lady Killers and Lady Swindlers. Gruesome subjects, aren't they? But they're quite good radio programmes. And Claire Balding does one on ramblings, on the different walks that she does. And they're quite good for getting you into listening for longer periods to novels.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the Senior Skills for Seeing Coordinator at the Macular Society. One of the main areas we provide support with when it comes to navigating low vision is teaching a technique called eccentric viewing. For anyone not familiar with eccentric viewing, it works to identify and use a clearer area of your vision. This usually means looking away from an object or slightly off centre. For some of you, this might be an area of your peripheral vision or an undamaged area of central vision. It may not be suitable for everyone. It really depends on vision loss and how your sight has been impacted. Working together with our volunteer trainers and people we've supported, here are our top tips for getting started with eccentric viewing. Use single lens reading glasses rather than the varifocal for this training. If you don't have a pair, inexpensive ready readers from shops like Boots or supermarkets can work as a temporary solution. Choose whichever is closest to your reading prescription. If you use varifocals, it may not give you an accurate understanding of where your clearer area of visions are. Identify your stronger or better eye. If you don't already know it, we typically practice with each eye individually to figure this out. Understand the limits of peripheral vision. It doesn't have the same detail as central vision, but it can still help you see and do many things you enjoy. Using an Amsler grid is a great place to begin. A grid will appear on screen now. This is a brilliant tool for monitoring and understanding any changes in your vision. Make sure you're sitting a comfortable distance from your screen and you look directly towards the center of the grid. Using your better eye only, or one eye at a time, start to notice which areas appear clearer, brighter, or more distinct. Take some time with this. There may be more than one area that stands out. Once you feel fairly confident you've identified an area of the grid that stands out, you can move on to using a large print clock face to refine this. With the same technique, you look directly towards the center and just notice which number or numbers stand out more clearly. Again, take your time with this. Once you've identified a number or numbers that are more distinct, you can begin to use this for eccentric viewing. The reason we use the Amsler and the clock face is to understand which areas of your vision are clearer. For example, if the number 2 stands out on the clock face, that indicates that the upper right area of your vision is clearer. And in order to use this to be able to see the center of the clock more distinctly, you need to look towards the number 7. So down and left. And you should find that you start to see the center of the clock. Think of this as shifting the functional portion of vision towards what you want to see. So if the number 9 is more distinct, if you begin looking towards the number 3, this should allow you to see the center of the clock. And you can start applying this to other tasks. So if you're looking at someone's face and you look off center in your preferred direction, you should begin to see their features more clearly. The direction to look in and the field of vision will be different for everyone and maybe a little trial and error. You may be using eccentric viewing without realising it, and having some support and practice can help refine it. Both the Amsler grid and the clock face are available as print versions or can be emailed to you to help you practice. The key to maximising vision is finding the right combination of lighting, magnification, and eccentric viewing techniques to work for you. And if you'd like any additional help or support with this, please do contact our helpline on 0300 30 30 111. Many thanks.